Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, here to bring you another retro review from past seasons of The Loud House. In today's video, we'll look at the Season 1 episode where Lincoln learns about the value of teamwork and he has to learn it the hard way. Today's episode is titled, Chore and Peace. First we'll discuss the plot, and then my thoughts and critiques with my final score. So, let's get right into it. The episode begins with Lincoln doing his weekly chore of taking out the trash. He complains about his sisters having chores not as bad as his, and judging by Lenny simply removing hair from the sink, I can see why. He wants one of them to switch chores with him, but they all refuse. So, Lincoln decides to go on strike until someone agrees to switch. Once the house gets piled high with trash, his sisters decide what they must do. Go on strike from their chores until Lincoln goes back to doing his. Eventually, the entire house ends up looking like a giant garbage dump, with Lisa creating her own trash monster named Trashy, and no one is willing to give in. When they hear Lily crying, which a raccoon does a really good job of impersonating, but can't find her in all the mess, Lincoln agrees to call off the strike and the rest of his sisters begin cleaning the house. Once the house is spotless again, the parents reveal Lily was with them the entire time. Not sure why the kids didn't ask them in the first place. The episode ends with Lincoln finding there won't be any trash pickup since the garbage workers are demanding more money, and that's just what Lincoln and his sister start demanding as well as they go back to the picket line. Well, that concludes the plot of the episode, so now we come to my thoughts and critiques. As good as this episode is when it comes to dealing with chores and the reason why we have to do them as kids, there are a few problems I had with this episode. But before I get to those, let's think about the chore layout. We see each of the Loud kids doing a specific chore, which I'm guessing the parents assigned to each of them. It's part of their weekly routine, and perhaps that's why they didn't want to switch with anyone. Maybe Lori was right about how trading chores would open a can of worms and upset the delicate balance. Call it a hunch, but I'm only assuming each of these kids have done their respective chores for so long and so well that maybe they started to believe no one else could do them with the kind of precision they can. Obviously, that's more or less debunked in future episodes like Fandom Pains, but that's beside the point. I actually have to agree with Lincoln since, well, technically, he's not wrong about how unfair the chore layout is. The fact it takes 3 people to wash, dry, and put away the dishes is a little ridiculous. And rather questionable, since who's washing the dishes when it isn't chore day? Regardless, everyone in the house has to do their part, no matter how big or small, and that's something we all had to learn growing up while we did our chores as kids. That's what Lincoln had to find out, and it took the power of going on strike to realize how he threw his own wrench into his own plan and everything backfired. Lincoln said he wouldn't take out the trash unless someone switched chores with him. You know, I'm surprised Lana didn't want to switch, given how much she loves garbage. Then again, she has to rely on Lincoln to help dispose of their pet's crap. So what's that all about? She doesn't know what to do with the crap after picking it up? That's weird. I have to give credit to Lincoln's sisters for refusing to do their chores until Lincoln stopped acting like he was getting the worst deal out of the bunch. They thought, if he's not going to do his, why should we do ours? That actually makes a lot of sense. I used to say the same thing with my brother when it came time to do chores. Of course, that's when our parents would intervene, which is more than I can say for the parents in this episode. I understood the idea of them choosing to take the hands-off approach so their kids would resolve their conflict on their own. But it's hard to deny that this was one of their weakest moments. They let their entire house become nothing more than a garbage dump, and they never thought to step in before things got really out of hand. It was smart of them to take Lily out of her room and into their room, probably the only clean part of the house, but I can't say they were of much use in this episode. Their jigsaw puzzle was just that important, especially those corner pieces. It makes you wonder if they would have finally interjected when the kids started demanding money in exchange for doing their chores. Considering how much it takes to house 11 kids, perhaps that would have been the final straw for them to say, just do your ding-dang chores or you're all grounded. That would have put them in their place real quick. One of the biggest things that caught my eye was how Lola and Lincoln were forced to wear anything but clothes when the laundry stopped getting washed. However, the other characters didn't seem to be as messy as those two, since it appeared their clothes and hygiene were just as clean as they always were. Were they just wearing their usual clothes for days on end? Could they have been doing their own laundry the entire time? Lori did outright say she wasn't going to wash Lincoln's clothes anymore, but then she said the pile of laundry had their dad's stuff in it as well, so my only guess would be the parents were also getting screwed, although that didn't really appear to be the case at all. Lisa said they were going off the grid, but did that include the water? This episode does have quite a few inconsistencies that leaves viewers a little confused on who did what while the strike was going on, and what wasn't being done, and for who. That's when I started thinking on how this episode could have made much more sense. Rather than his sisters all going on strike from their chores, they could have just refused to do their part when it came time to cleaning up after their brother. Lori could have washed everyone else's clothes except his, Luna wouldn't vacuum his room, Luann, Lucy, and Lynn wouldn't take care of his dishes, Lisa would cut off his access to the utilities, Lenny wouldn't pick up his hair, if that's even possible, and Lola wouldn't make his bed. Lana would still be on poop patrol, unless she refused to pick up after Lincoln if he were forced to go outside to... oh boy. Lincoln would face the ultimatum of either having to suck it up and do his chore like everyone else, or refuse to take out the trash and he can have no more clean clothes or dishes until he stops throwing a fit. Maybe his sisters could have dumped their trash into Lincoln's room to remind him of whose job it is to take it out. No matter what, just like the parents, his sisters still had the right idea, but not properly thought out all the way. That's how we ended up with Clyde getting Lori's text from Walt, which was kinda funny, and it gave birth to Trashy. He was a gentle creature, longing to fit in with society, but alas, he got tossed to the curb with the rest of his kind. May he rest in peace. Overall, this episode may have its inconsistencies, but I really do find the episode relatable, and I especially appreciate the moral. No matter how stupid or unfair you think your chore or job is, you need to remember you're part of a team, and everyone plays an important role in making sure everything runs smoothly. Disrupting the flow can make things worse, and Lincoln found out what happened when he thought he got the worst chore out of everyone and didn't want to do his part anymore. He made some good points, but the bigger point was how his job was just as important as anyone else's. While I agree on the surface with the respective plans his sisters and parents took in this episode, they didn't make a lot of sense in the long run, and inevitably made things a lot worse than they originally intended. In the end, everything in the house was restored to normal, and I suppose these events are what made everyone start doing different chores, since we do see Lori and Lenny washing dishes in future episodes. With that said, I give Chore and Peace an 8.3 out of 10. Well, folks, that concludes my review of Chore and Peace. Just remember, keeping up with your household responsibilities makes the difference between sleeping with comfy sheets and sleeping with raccoons. The more you know. So what did you guys think of it? Love it? Hate it? Something you would add? Change? Keep it as it is? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest Loud House content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.